So in this video, we are going to learn about IAM, which stands for Identity and Access Management. So I believe you have already created your AWS account, and once you log into your account, you'll get the dashboard like this. It would be somewhat similar like this. And few things to observe here is your username, and here would be the region. Now, I want you to open IAM, which stands for Identity and Access Management. For that, you need to click over here and type IAM, and then you can just click over this star to mark it as a favorite so that it will appear over here, this section. So I'll click on IAM. So this is the dashboard of identity and access management, from where you can govern the users, the groups, right? So let's start with the video, and we are going to see how we can create users in the first sense. So the first thing first that you need to do is you need to click over here. So initially it would be 0 for you, right? So this would be the first user that you would be creating, and I already have one user created, which is Terraform user, so I'll create another one, right? One more thing to observe: IAM is a global service. How do you mark it as a proof? So you can see it is here. It is saying that this is a global service, right? Now the first thing that you need to do is click over here to click create a new user and type the username. So I'll write Jenkins user, and then you need to click on this checkbox, that is provide user access with AWS management console, which will allow the user to sign in through the console. Then you need to click on this radio button. I want to create an IAM user. Now here you can see there are two passwords. First is auto generated password and second is custom password. So when you click on custom password, you can give the uh, password that you want the user to log into. So I'll write over here. Once done, there is another checkbox which is saying basically, like, do you want the user to change his password while he is logging the first time? But since we don't want the user to change his password, we'll just uncheck this thing. However, it is recommended by AWS to change the password while you are signing in for the first time. But since we are demonstrating, we will uncheck this box. But if you want, you can proceed away with the recommendation. Now click on next. Now there are three permissions, that is add user to a group, copy permissions from an existing user, and third is attach policies directly. So we are not going to click on either of the permissions, just to see what will happen if we create a blank user. So I'll just click on next, and then there is a field for tags. So basically tags are used for identification of the services, right? So it becomes handy for us whenever we are using AWS console. So I'll give a new tag over here. Once the tag is created, you can click on create user and your user will be created. Here you can see you are getting an console where you are getting your sign-in details, which consist of sign-in URL, your username, and the encrypted password, right? Now you can do one thing. You can either click over here and can email the user with his credentials, or you can either download the username and password through CSV. But since we are not sending it to anyone, we are going to demonstrate it on incognito tab. So I'll just open the incognito tab and copy the URL which has been provided. So once you paste in the URL, you can see there is a numeric format given. So basically this is a unique number which is given to you, which will be acting as an account ID. It is of 12 digits, right? So from the next time onwards, whenever you're logging in as an IAM user, you would be required with this 12 digit. So you can either copy this and pin it somewhere so that it would be easier for you to access the console. Now the second thing is username. Now enter the username followed by the password you have set while creating the user. Once done, click on sign in. So this is the fresh dashboard that you would be getting once you're logged in with your new user which you have created. So how would you know that you have been logged in with the new user which you have created? So basically, so basically, you need to check over here, right? So here you are getting Jenkins-user, right? Which is the user which we created, right? Okay. Now the next thing would be I'm going to click over here on EC2 and check whether I'm able to access the things or not. See, everywhere I am getting API error. Why? Because we just created a blank user without any permission, right? I am going to go over IAM. I'll mark it as favorite and then I'll click over here. So here again, as per the expected behavior, we should get multiple access denied errors, right? Which we are getting already. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to assign this user with the permission. So we are going to return to the main screen. Here we are getting our user, that is Jenkins-user, right? And I'm going to add the permission. So add permission. Now there are three options as we saw earlier, that is add user to a group, copy permissions, and attach policies directly. So in this case, we are going to attach policy directly. Okay, we are going to assign the permissions directly, and the permission that I will be assigning to this specific user would be IAM full access. All right, given. Next, add permission. Now we have given the user with the identity and access management permission, and now I just need to do a refresh over here, and now you can see the error has been gone, and the new user which we have created, that is Jenkins user, can see all the information which was present over there, right? Even you can click on groups, you can see what are the groups which are already created. You can see what are the users which are already existing, right? So that's the power of permissions that you can give, right? So that is why it is said that IAM is a most crucial aspect in AWS, which deals into permissions, users, and groups, right? Okay. Now what will happen if I remove this permission? So the permissions is removed, and expected we should get error over here again. All right, access denied. Okay, so we learned how we can create a user. Second, we learn how we can assign a specific permission to the user. Now consider a scenario where there are multiple users and you need to assign them some sort of permissions, right? Let's say it's a developer, those who are developing the things, and you need to give them permission. And like on a daily basis, there are like 5 to 6 batches of developers joining the companies, right? So how would you give them permission? It would be tedious for you. It would be hard for you to assign the permission one by one to each of them. So in order to avoid that, what would you do? You would just create a group, right? And assign the permission to that group. So once the user is been created, you can directly attach the group and they can get the permission directly. So this will reduce the administrative part. So what I'll do, I'll just create a group and just write it as developers. All right, and I can select the developers. So here we have two users, Jenkins user and Terraform user. I'll select them, and what are the permissions that I want to give to them? So I will give them EC2 full access, given. Then I will give them IAM full access, followed by RDS full access. Done. So these are the three permissions which I have given to them, and I'll click on create user group. Now, as you can see, the developers group has been created. Here you can see there are two users which are associated with that group, and you can see what are the permissions which are already assigned to them. So it will take some time to load, but you will get the permissions which we assigned to the group, right? Okay, next thing. Now what I'll do, I'll just do a refresh, and you can see that error message has gone again, right? Now I'll try to check whether the permission, that is EC2 full access, which has been given to me, whether it is working correctly or not. So I'll just click over here, click on instances, click on launch instance, and I write AWS in it, and let's just keep everything for default as of now. We'll cover all the options which are mentioned over here in the coming video, and just I'll click on launch instances. All right, launching, and it is giving us a success message. Once we click over here, it will say that the AWS init instance which we created is up and running, and so you are good to go, right? So that was all about IAM. identity and access management in AWS, right? So I'll just terminate this VM for now. Also, in terms of authentication and authorization, there is one more thing that I want to point out. Like, let's say if you're using Jenkins user, right? It is giving us one thing that enabled without MFA, right? So what is MFA? So that is multi-factor authentication. So you might have seen, like, whenever you are logging to Instagram, they have also enabled MFA, multi-factor authentication. Once you log in with your password, it will give you a six-digit code which is been expected from Instagram. So which you get in any authentication application, that may let it be Google Authenticator or your Microsoft Authenticator, right? Once you receive the digits, you can go ahead with that, right? So now we are going to assign the multi-factor authentication in your newly created Jenkins user. So click on here, security credentials, then click on assign MFA device. All right, you can write the device name. So, like I have both Microsoft Authenticator and Google Authenticator. I'll use Google Authenticator this time because for Terraform user, I have used Microsoft Authenticator, right? So I'll write Google Auth. All right, and here there are three options, that is first passkey and security key. We won't go with that. We will go with the Authenticator app, and third is hardware TOTP, which is usually specifically for UB keys. But since we are in learning phase, we would proceed with Authenticator app. Then click on next. All right. Now it is asking us to download Google Authenticator, Duo Mobile, or any authentication application which will help us to do the things. So what you need to do, you need to click on show QR code, and this is the authenticator thing that you need to scan with your device. So what I'll do, I'll just shift to my phone and I'll just open my authenticator device, which is Google Authenticator. I'll click on add code and click on scan QR code. I'll just scan this QR code and I'm getting one code at my end, so that I'll enter it at my end, 408. All right, and again you need to wait for the code to expire. It is expecting two codes from you, right? First is done. Now second is here, 829681, and then you need to click on add MFA. All right, your MFA has been set up successfully, and now once you go to your device, you can see AWS web service is already added. Now let's validate whether it is done or not. So what I'll do, I'll just sign out from here. Okay, I'll click on sign in again. So basically we need to enter our account ID, 12 digits, right? Now Jenkins hyphen user followed by the password, enter. Now it is asking you for the MFA code, just like we get on any other social media app, right? So we have enabled multi-factor authentication. Now I'll enter the same 479125, and now we should be good to go, and we are getting the access to AWS dashboard. So that was all about this video. I hope you learned a lot. So today we learned how we can create a user, how we can assign a permission or a policy to a user, how we can create a group, add user to a group, how we can enable multi-factor authentication, right? So that was all. See you in the next one.